What is up, everyone? It is Quinn here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be running through 5 buy low running backs kind of heading into the NFL draft. Now that we're in off-season mode, the focus has kind of shifted from players who are great in, win now situations to now, everyone's hyped up about the new draft picks. Everyone's trying to stock up on first round, second round, third round picks. And so I think this has opened up a really nice opportunity for some contending teams or just teams who, want some value out there to go and trade for some veteran running backs. Now, obviously, going after a veteran running back could be pretty risky because, they're one injury or one tough season away from kind of being pushed out of the NFL. But if you are a team that's in a win now situation, I think these are all guys that you can get at really strong values, at this point in time. And there's actually one guy in these 5 who's, not really one of these older running backs. So, this video can kind of fit for everyone. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. You can drop, potential trade offers. I'll, try to give you guys some advice on what I would do in those situations. But let's jump into the first player, and it is going to be Derrick Henry. I think he's a very, very strong win now option. I'm going to be referencing Keep Trade Cut in terms of their ranking. I know some people really like Keep Trade Cut. Other people, not a huge fan of it. For me, I like it when it just comes to the straight up rankings. Like the trade calculators, I think it's tough to get trade calculators that are actually accurate. But in terms of, seeing where people actually rank these players, I think it's pretty decent. So right now, Derrick Henry is ranked as the running back 21, and that's around a round 8 startup pick. So the dude is 29 years old. So you're definitely, not going to be getting 4 or 5 years of like RB1 seasons out of Derrick Henry, definitely more towards the end of his career, but he's going to be someone who's drafted as a top 12, top 10 running back for the 2023 season. So, he's expected to be an RB1 this year. And then I don't think it's crazy for him to also be viewed as an RB1 heading into 2024. Obviously, maybe he suffers an injury, maybe the workload catches up to him. But if he's going to be, slotted in to be a running back one for this year, I don't think it's crazy for him to be, top 12, maybe in that 10 to 12 area in 2024. So getting 2 running back 1 seasons out of someone who's probably going to be like a round 8 startup pick, for me, that's totally worth it if you are going all in to compete, in 2023 and 2024. Some potential trade offers, I'd look to, maybe move off of an early second round pick. Keep Trade Cut, kind of has Henry in an early second in the same area. And then maybe you can also toss in like a third round pick in there and see if a team's going to bite. Obviously, if you're trying to acquire Derrick Henry and, you're trying to move picks, you're probably going to need to go to a team that's, maybe stripping it down and, kind of starting to rebuild. But Derrick Henry definitely, getting on the older end. So it is possible that a team has all these veterans. They kind of want to, break it down and, kind of acquire some picks. So I think he is definitely someone who I'd be going after. Miles Sanders on Keep Trade Cut is currently ranked higher than Derrick Henry. I would easily take Derrick Henry over Miles Sanders. Obviously, team construction is going to factor in there. But if you're just asking me, do I want Derrick Henry or Miles Sanders for Dynasty? Give me Derrick Henry for sure. So he is going to be my first buy low running back. Now, the second buy low running back is going to be another veteran, and it is going to be Aaron Jones. I think he's another one of these running backs whose kind of age has led to his Dynasty value taking a hit. Right now, he is viewed as the running back 26, which is like a round 9, round 10 startup pick. He's at 28 years old, so, he's definitely on the back half of his career, but it's also not like, he's scheduled to fall off a cliff, in 2023 or maybe even 2024. I feel like the departure or likely departure of Aaron Rodgers has kind of also factored into this. People maybe think the Packers are just going to, totally fall off. The offense is going to be terrible. And there were times throughout the season where it looked like, A.J. Dillon may start to overtake Aaron Jones. But I mean, when we're looking at the end of the year numbers, Aaron Jones out-carried A.J. Dillon, he out-targeted A.J. Dillon, and he was also just, more effective and more efficient in both areas, and that was, with him being like the older running back. So I still think this is going to be Aaron Jones' job. When you kind of look back at the fantasy finishes from last year, I feel like there are always a few players who are kind of surprising, where maybe throughout the year they didn't feel like they had a great finish, but Aaron Jones finished as the RB12 in PPR points per game, so he was an RB1 last season, And it's not like Aaron Jones is a guy who's been given a massive workload. Like for a lot of his career, he's in somewhat of a split. It was him and Jamal Williams early on with the Packers, him and A.J. Dillon over the last few years. So it's not like he's taking, an insane number of carries per season. He doesn't have that Derrick Henry workload, and he also has the receiving ability where I do think he can be relevant for, maybe 3+ years. Like maybe his age 28, 29 season, maybe he's a fringe running back 1, and then he can kind of fade into like RB2 territory, fringe RB2 territory, but I don't think he's someone who's just going to totally fall off and be like a non-factor for fantasy because he does have that receiving skill set. So another player here who I think if you're in a win now mode is someone you should just ask around about if they are kind of, trying to move off of him because of that age or the Packers offense being not great. But remember, Aaron Jones was putting up these numbers on a Packers offense that wasn't good, even though they did have Aaron Rodgers. Like this was still not a great offense overall. Now moving over to the one player I referenced at the beginning who is not, a kind of older veteran, and that is going to be Cam Akers. And honestly, when I was looking through the Keep Trade Cut rankings, I was pretty shocked to see Akers all the way down at running back 31. That is a round 10 startup pick. And personally, like I'm not someone who has been a big Cam Akers guy. I was pretty low on him coming into the season. I didn't really, love the return from the Achilles. Remember, he played in the playoffs and late in the 2021 season, but was just very, very ineffective. I just thought the price was too rich at where he was being drafted. So this is not me, being like an Akers massive fan. But I think at this price, running back 31, to me, he looks like he's a steal here. Obviously, the best window to buy him would have been early in the 2022 season, in November. He was valued as the running back 55. So his, value had basically completely tanking. And, the beginning of that season was just a disaster. He had 0 total yards in week 1. I think he only had 3 carries, no targets. Then a little later on in the season, he was away from the team. It looked like he might get traded. He ends up staying with the Rams, and then he finishes the 2022 season on a tear. So these are the numbers in his last 3 games. He went 23 for 118 and 3 touchdowns, 19 for 123, and then 21 for 104. At the start of the 2023 season, he's going to be 2 years removed from that Achilles tear. For a lot of running backs, that's kind of been a death sentence. The fact that he was able to come back at the end of the 2022 season and find a ton of success, for me, that is a great sign for Akers moving forward. And the thing is, it's not like we're dealing with a 26, 27-year-old running back. Akers hasn't even turned 24 years old yet. So if he's, back to close to what he was prior to that Achilles tear here in 2023, he could be the RB1 for a team for the next 3, 4, 5 seasons. And to get a running back like that, at RB31, if he's healthy to start off the season and is putting up solid mid-tier RB2 numbers, his value is going to skyrocket moving forward. So I think he's a guy where whether you're a win now team or a rebuilding roster, really regardless, I think he is a very solid option to look to acquire in trades. Now moving over to the 4th running back, it is going to be Alvin Kamara, and his value has really kind of just plummeted over the past year. Heading into week 1, Kamara was actually viewed as the running back 12 for Dynasty, according to Keep Trade Cut. Right now on Keep Trade Cut, he is sitting at RB 34. So went from a back end RB1 to now a back end running back 3. He had the underwhelming, I guess you could say underwhelming 2022 season, and then he also has this potential suspension looming. Those are kind of the key factors in that drop-off. However, I said that year was underwhelming, and I feel like if you had Kamara on your roster, it definitely felt that way. He still finished as the RB13 in PPR points per game. So, in terms of point per game number, it really wasn't a bad season. He's also not a guy who's 29, 30 years old. He's sitting here at 27, so younger than Aaron Jones, younger than Derrick Henry, and kind of like Aaron Jones with that receiving ability. I think it's reasonable that he could be a fringe running back 1 for 1, 2, maybe 3 more years, and then he could be more of that back end RB2 option, into his age 30 season, 31, 32, once he kind of gets more up there in that age area. And even if he is getting hit with a 6-game suspension this season, if you're slotting him in as a fringe running back 1 for the next 2 years, okay, you're missing close to half the season with the suspension, but I would still be very, very interested in Alvin Kamara, at his current price. A back-end RB3, I think he's a great target for win-now teams, and you may only have to give up like an early to mid 2023 second-round pick, which I would definitely be willing to do. I mean, you're looking at the other running backs that are going to go in that range. A guy like Bijan Robinson's going to be gone, Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Charbonnet, those dudes are going to be off the board when we're getting early second, mid-second round, and then you're going to have to be taking your shots on like the Sean Tuckers, the A-Chains. If I'm a team with a strong contending roster, I would take Kamara over those dudes. And then the fifth and final buy low running back, this is definitely going to be more of a flyer for a win-now team. For me, it's going to be James Conner. Right now, he is viewed as the running back 43, kind of a late, startup pick, round 14, round 15 area. And, it's possible that before the season even starts, like you trade for Conner and it just doesn't really pan out because either he gets replaced on the Cardinals or maybe he's put into some sort of committee. Maybe they sign one of these free agents that are still out there, or maybe they spend decent draft capital, on a rookie running back. But looking at this Cardinals team, they're likely not going to be very competitive without Kyler Murray. It looks like he's going to be returning probably second half of the season, but they're definitely not going to be rushing him back. So I don't think this is going to be a great offense. And I wouldn't be shocked if they just, kind of throw Conner out there and just feed him a ton of volume like we saw towards the end of the 2023 season. Conner kind of got off, the 2022 season. Conner got off to a rough start in 2022. He was dealing with a variety of injuries. He was kind of, limited early on. But in the last 7 games, Conner averaged 17.4 carries per game, 4.9 targets per game. He was averaging 19.8 PPR points per game. So I think you take a swing here, you turn like a late second round pick, and it could end up getting you a RB1 season on a contending team. I understand, it's very risky. It's possible that after a few weeks into the season, he's a guy who's basically a backup, but I do think it could be worth it, just to kind of take the swing here, because if he does hit, you do have a legit shot at getting an RB1 season if they're just willing to kind of pour that volume into him, which we have seen them do. They did it last season. And then in 2021, when Chase Edmonds was out of the lineup, they also just force-fed James Conner. So they do like him. They want to give him a lot of volume. He has been able to handle it for the most part. So those are going to be my 5 buy low running backs: Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Cam Akers, Alvin Kamara, and then James Conner. If you all enjoyed the video, do me a huge favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm also going to be going through some buy low wide receivers, so stay tuned for that. But thank you all for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.